Jerry. Thank you, Darren. I'm one of the marketing coordinators here at BCIT School of Health Sciences, and I will be moderating the session this evening, but we'll have two presenters, ERIN FRIESEN, our program head for food technology, and Maninder Desi, our program advisor from BCIT. So before we go any further, I'd like to read our land acknowledgement. The British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. Now, our agenda for this, is it afternoon or evening? I don't even know. Our agenda is a welcome and introductions that I'm doing right now, and then we'll watch a program video and have a presentation and a program overview from ERIN FRIESEN. And then our program advisor, Maninder, will come on and talk to you about the ins and outs of applying and admissions and how that side of things works. And then we'll have time for a Q&A at the end. So because we have the Q&A at the end, I would like everyone to remain on mute for the duration of the presentation, just so we don't have any interference. And you may type questions into the chat as we go along, but keep in mind that a lot of those questions might be answered throughout the course of the presentation by what we've already planned to say. So it might be best to hold some of your questions until the Q&A, and we can type them into the chat and answer them out loud as a group or by typing back to you at that time. So thank you very much. And with that, I'm going to pass things over to ERIN FRIESEN.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us. I'm happy to see you guys are interested in food technology. I am the program head for the food technology department at BCIT, and I've been at BCIT, I believe, since 2012. I worked in industry prior to that, so I have some knowledge working in the brewery industry as well as the feed industry. So as we go along in the info session, I hope to explain a little bit about what food technology is and what you would be learning in our program. So to start off, I believe we have a quiz question.
Yes, and I'll launch the poll right now. It should pop up on everyone's screens.
So the question here is, all of these are things a food technologist may do, except one of them is something you might not be doing at the end of the degree, or sorry, the diploma. So you could be technically developing a vegan cream cheese. You could be measuring vitamin C levels in orange juice. You could be recommending a diet for elderly patients with diabetes, or you could be inspecting a pasta manufacturing facility. So one of these is something you would not be doing at the completion of the food technology diploma. Awesome. So looks like you guys are right on the right track. The one that 86% of you chose is the correct answer. Recommending a diet for an elderly patient with diabetes is something you would do in a nutrition program or a dietitian program. And while in food technology, we do talk a little bit about nutrition because we need to understand, some of the key vitamins. We don't look at the effect of the foods once they're in the body and how those nutrients then get distributed. So if you are interested in that, you would want to be looking at UBC. UBC has a nutrition program, but we're looking at the science of foods. So developing a vegan cream cheese, this you could get hired as an R&D technician, so research and development, and could develop new products. So that is a job a food technologist would do. We do also make the nutrition contents table on products. So measuring nutrients is something that you could end up doing in food technology. And the last one there is actually an interesting one. You could end up being an inspector and going and visiting food processing facilities. And it's also something you could do if you end up in the environmental technology program here at BCIT. So there's two different routes to getting into inspecting food manufacturing facilities, and food technology is one route of getting into that. So thank you. And I should clarify, it was the environmental health program. So environmental health is a program that you would need to have 2 years of university in order to get into. And some of our students do take the food technology route in order to get into the environmental health program. Next slide.
Okay, this slide is our video.
we have been making wines, and today we finally get to bottle it and drink it and have different flavors that different groups made. I chose food tech because you get to learn everything about food, which is like so exciting. I love being at BCIT and being part of this program.
Basically, food technology helps students work with food manufacturers to make food that is safe to eat and is of high quality. So here at BCIT, we teach the food technology students how to develop and implement the food safety and quality systems that are going to run. And we also teach them the various test methods for supporting those food safety and quality programs. Students that graduate in food technology work with food safety programs, and so they're trained to develop and implement them. These are very significant programs now for the food industry, and so our students are really capable of carrying those programs on and expanding them.
At the packaging line, we have to make sure that the product is at its highest quality and also that we're producing at the most efficient rate. So I love my job because I get to control the quality of the product and to meet the highest standards. When I started in the food industry, I realized that what I learned in the program actually is what I'm going to do. So you're prepared for the job.
The best kind of student for food technology is somebody that really cares about food. So somebody that might like to experiment with food, producing it and working with it. Just being that close to the food that we're producing, it really makes you feel good about what you do for a living.
Awesome. So here is, well, I guess the video kind of explained a lot of what I'd probably be saying right now. So what is food technology? In the program, we're understanding how foods are made. So we do look at the various different food processes, and we take you through, cheese making, yogurt making. We do some fish labs, we do some meat processing labs. And so you understand what happens in the different food industries, what influences the quality of the food in those different industries. And then where a lot of the jobs are ending up now is on food safety. So ensuring not only that the products that companies are releasing to grocery stores are of high quality, but also making sure that those products are produced in a safe manner and that you are preventing any potential food outbreaks. So in this particular picture here, this is showing our texture analyzer. So we have a variety of different labs here where we look at how foods are analyzed. And then we also do a variety of different labs of how foods are produced. So a question I'm sure some of you guys have is what's happening with the current environment with COVID. So we currently are running a reduced number of labs on campus. And so by reduced labs, we have broken the classes down into smaller cohorts, ensuring enough space between students and put in, barriers, as well as making sure people are wearing protective gear such as masks and gloves while performing labs. So we are still running hands-on labs, but the number of labs is reduced, and hopefully when, vaccinations are well made to the public, we can have you guys back on campus and run all the labs. But when we don't run those labs on campus, we are doing virtual labs. So we're filming and then also having you guys do the same components that you guys would be doing in person. So that gives you an idea of what we're doing in food technology. And if you can switch to the next slide. Is food technology for you? So what I really like about food technology is it does involve all the different sciences. So it has a little bit of chemistry, a little bit of physics. And so if you're kind of the person who likes just understanding how things are made, food technology is for you. It is understanding different processes. And because we're looking at food safety, you would need to be somebody who likes to be accurate. You need to be self-sufficient, but the cool thing about food technology is you would be working with a team once you're, here at school as well as when you're out in industry. So being able to work with others is something that you need to do. And the food industry is a industry that obviously wants to make money, and they have deadlines. So you'll need to be able to work under pressure once you're out in industry. You need to have keen observational skills as well as manual dexterity. Next slide. So what do you need to get in? So I'm going to talk just about the diploma right now. So we have a 2-year diploma, and in order to get into the diploma, you need to have high school education. You need to have an aptitude for science, and you need to have an interest in learning more about food and making sure that the food that we're eating is as high quality as possible. Next slide. So program overview. So once again, just talking about the diploma for now, it's a 2-year program that trains students in the basics of food technology, and certain areas we look at is food processing, quality control, food analysis, product development, and you would end the 2-year program with an industry project. So we'd pair you up with an industry partner, and depending on what the industry is trying to solve, whether it's improving their shelf life, developing a new product, or implementing a food safety plan, you would be doing that project for your industry partner. So it's a 2-year program. It's in person, blended right now online. So it's a 2-year full-time program. Classes run from 8:30 in the morning till about 4:30 at night, 5 days a week. Combination of lectures and labs, which is in non-COVID times, it's about 50-50, 50 lecture, 50% labs. Right now it's shifted a little bit less, so it's probably only about 20% labs. And as I mentioned, we have industry projects. So before moving on, if you do visit the food technology website, you'll also see that we have 2 other options. We have a food safety associate certificate. So if you were looking for a quicker route of getting retrained into the food industry, we have the food safety associate certificate, which requires you to take, I believe, about 5 courses. It's 15.5 credits. They're offered part-time basis, and it's very specific training on food safety plans. So you would then end up potentially in a quality control type position where you'd be responsible for the food safety plan. But this program was designed for people who already have some education and potentially have work experience already, and then just want to refocus their education in on the food safety associate certificate. And then we also have on the website listed a 2-year Bachelor's of Science top-up. So this program is designed for people who've completed the diploma and then want to continue their education and get into more of a management position in the food industry. The only problem with this program is registration has been low for the past few years, so it has been put on hold. So I don't know at this time when the next time we'd be running the Bachelor's of Science. But if you are interested in a bachelor's, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, doing the 2-year diploma in food technology and then doing the 2-year bachelor's of environmental health is a good option as well, and does also lead you back into the food industry also. Next slide. So career outlook, most of our grads get to work. They do work within about 2 months of graduating. So for those students who are wanting to work at the end of their program, I think the last time I looked, about 86% had found jobs, and some of them go on and do additional education, but satisfaction with the program has been quite high. The types of companies that people end up working for in British Columbia is quite varied. We have some very large dairy companies, meat processors. You'll see in that video that we watched, there was, chip manufacturers. Hard Bite, for example, is based in BC. And then we also have a lot of smaller startup companies. So mom and pop, potentially with only about 5 people, 10 people working for them, whereas other companies might have a few hundred people working for them. So depending on what type of size company you get into, your responsibilities may vary quite a bit depending on the food company. So with the training that you'd get in the program you take here, you will have the skills that employers are looking for, and those employers are looking for BCIT grads from the food technology program. Next slide. So just talking about some of our grads, we have a really exciting story here from on the slide here, you'll see on the picture on the left, the 3 people who are on the left side were graduates from our program, I believe about 4 years ago. And one of the classes that you'd be taking in the diploma is research and development class, product development, sorry. And so as part of this product development class, you're responsible for developing a new product. And these students in the picture here developed a fermented chickpea product as part of the class project. And based on the project, they then decided to launch their own company. So you'll see on the right-hand side, the product that's now being sold, Tempeh, which was kind of stemmed from what their project was here at BCIT. And so they've actually been quite successful. You'll see their foods now in stores such as Choices, I believe, is carrying them, as well as smaller type vegan places, and vegan restaurants across the Lower Mainland are carrying their product. So an awesome success story that I'm always happy to be able to mention when I have the chance. And I see my camera has frozen, so I'm sorry. Next slide, please.
We're just glad we can still hear you, Erin, and you can still hear us. So.
Perfect.
So thank you for that, Erin. That was a lot of great information. I'm now going to pass it over to Maninder from Program Advising, and she's going to talk about some of the application and advising details. And again, if you have any questions, please do feel free to type them into the chat as we go along, and we'll answer those in the Q&A.
Great, thanks, Erin. Thanks to both Erins. That was very informative. As Erin mentioned, I'll be going over the entrance requirements, the application admissions process, and then I will be ending by providing you some information on the student services that we have available here at BCIT. I also just want to share that I have a very strong appreciation and interest in this program, particularly since I got married, because I got married into a family that has a fresh and frozen fruit processing plant that exports internationally. So it's been a great learning experience to see behind the scenes a lot of the positions that Erin mentioned you'd be going into. I've been able to see firsthand students working, I shouldn't say students, but graduates from our program and from other places as well, working intimately on the shop floor. And teamwork, I can see, is a big skill. You're working not just in silos, you're going to be working with others as well. I think one of the most things I find fascinating is how food standards vary from one country to another. What one country requires from our processing plant can be very different from what another country requires. So there's a lot of interesting things going behind the scenes, and I hope you get a chance to see more. So I'm going to move forward, Erin, to the next slide. So the entrance requirements, which many of you probably have seen online, are quite straightforward. There's 3 requirements for the program. One is an English requirement. The English requirement is broken down into 2 parts. So where we've stated that you require 2 years of education in English in an English-speaking country, what that is a speaking and listening requirement. So if you've studied in an English-speaking country and you've completed all of your high school or you've done your university, you most likely meet that requirement. If you have not studied in an English-speaking country, there are options to fulfill that requirement, such as an IELTS exam, TOEFL, or an exam called Duolingo. That's just a few options. There are some others as well. They're all outlined, I believe, on the link Darren just posted in the chat. So in addition to speaking and listening, there's a requirement for academic writing, which is English Studies 12 or English First Peoples 12, or an equivalent course in post-secondary. So from post-secondary, that could be a first-year English course, a social science or humanities course. Once again, this requirement can also be met by writing the TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo exam. Chemistry 11, you can use Chemistry 11 or Chemistry 12, so one or the other, as well as post-secondary chemistry. So if you don't have high school chemistry, but you have post-secondary, you can use that to meet the requirement. And for math, you can either choose Pre-Calculus 12 from the high school system here in BC or Foundations of Math 12. We do accept courses from schools outside of Canada. We have some information that is listed on our website about courses that you can take or courses you may have taken in your country. So we've sort of tried to give you a comparison. I will post that link in a second here. So if you've taken courses in your country at the high school level that you feel meet the requirement, or possibly at the post-secondary level as part of your bachelor's degree, you can propose those courses as part of the application process, and they will be assessed by our admissions department. You do not need to provide an ICES or an international credential evaluation if you studied outside of Canada. Because the requirements are at the high school level, you can upload your high school or post-secondary transcript as it is. If it's in a language other than English, you will need to get a certified English translation of your document and then upload that. Next slide. So the program begins in September of each year. We've been accepting applications as of October 1st. There is no formal deadline date for this program. Applications are accepted on a first qualified basis. So it is important to apply early. Our programs at BCIT are not large programs, so limited seats are available. I would encourage you to apply as soon as possible if you haven't already. Now, you can apply with midterm grades or final grades. So if you're currently upgrading a course, you'll have to wait till you have at least a midterm grade in order to apply and be offered a seat for the program. The application is relatively straightforward. You can go online now and go log into My BCIT, and as if you were going to apply to the program, and have a look at the application to see what types of information you'll need to submit. So one of the most important things is that you do need official transcripts, and you'll have to convert your transcripts into a PDF, and there's information on our website about how you can do that. So that could be by scanning them into PDFs or by taking pictures, but we have provided that information on our webpage. Once you've submitted your application, the application processing period is anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. So it shouldn't take any longer than 4 weeks, but it's possible to get a response sooner than that as well. Next slide. So the laddering opportunities ERIN covered as part of her presentation. So we just wanted to let you know that after your diploma, for those of you who are maybe coming to BCIT without any previous post-secondary education, if you do want to go further, there are opportunities to complete bachelor's degrees at BCIT. If you're interested in completing a degree outside of BCIT, it is up to you to do that research. You'll have to contact the various schools that you're interested in attending and speak to them to find out if any transfer credit would be granted to you from this particular program. Next slide. Okay. So there are a number of student supports available at BCIT. We are committed to ensuring that our students succeed not only academically, but also on the personal side as well. So our student life office is dedicated to the well-being of our students throughout their entire life cycle at BCIT, as well as our student association. Now, in the current climate, many of our student services, actually all of them, are available online. There's a few I wanted to highlight that you may be interested in as a prospective student. So the first ones I'm going to start with is our Student Financial Aid and Awards Department. If any of you have questions about the student loan process, you're interested to find out what kinds of scholarships, awards, and bursaries are available, please go to their webpage first. There's a lot of information that you can read through. And then if you have any specific questions, please do contact them. They're available by email and telephone, Monday to Friday. The next one is our Accessibility Services Department. If you have a permanent or temporary disability and you're going to require some assistance while you're studying at BCIT, please do reach out to them. We do encourage you to have applied to your program, but if it's getting close to the date of you starting your program, you can contact them earlier as well. Please go to their website. Once again, there's lots of information there, but you can then set up an appointment to go through all the different steps of explaining to them what you're going to need, and then they can let you know how they can accommodate you while you're studying. And then the last one is our Indigenous Services Department that I'd like to mention today. They're here to ensure a smooth transition for our Indigenous students into their first year and beyond. They're also here to support students throughout their studies. They have a mentoring program. They're here to help with some information on Indigenous funding opportunities that may be available to them. Once we're back to campus, they have an amazing gathering place that is open to not only Indigenous students, but to the entire BCIT community. And there's some great programs that they put on throughout the year. Next slide, Erin. Great, so after today, if we're not able to answer your question during this session, You can contact program advising, and if we're not able to answer your questions quite specific to the program area, we'll put you in touch with the program area. But if you do need to speak to us, these are your options. If your inquiry is time sensitive, please give us a call. We're available Monday to Friday. There are specific times in which we're available, but that's the best way to get a hold of us and get your question answered right away. If your question can wait a couple of days for a response, and you can email us. And if you'd like to set up a Zoom appointment, that's possible as well. Next slide. All right, so if you are not already following our social media channels here that are listed, I highly encourage you to start following them. There's opportunities to learn more about BCIT, about our students. There's some amazing stories that are regularly being shared. I'm sure the information that's going to be shown to you from all these different platforms is really going to help you make an informative choice about your career. So please do have a look at these. You can access many of these from the various sites on our web pages. Maybe take a quick snapshot of this as well. Right now, many of the services under Learn More, of course, are not available. Most of us are currently working remotely. So at some point, we'll be back to campus, and there may be opportunities for you to take a tour or spend a day as well in many of our programs. Next slide. Okay, so that's the end of the formal presentation. And now I think ERIN is going to take over the question and answer period, and we'll be sort of letting you, sorry, I'm stumbling on my words. ERIN is going to read out some of your questions, and we'll respond to them verbally, and we'll also respond via typing in the chat as well. Over to you, ERIN.
Okay, thank you, Maninder. I think some of these questions might have actually been answered a bit during our presentation, but I'll read some of them out. Anyways, Maninder, you were talking about some of the different English scores that were available. Is PELD, P-E-L-D score able to be used for applying?
Yes, so for PELD, if you're using the test, it would be COM 0015, which is a reading and writing test, and COM 0033, which is a speaking and listening test, if you don't make the 2 years of speaking and listening requirement. Their minimum grade needed in COM 0033 is 70, and I believe in 0015 it's 70 as well, so 70 in both. And then those are the tests. If you need to take courses, it would be COM 0005 and COM 0030 that you can use to apply.
Thank you, Maninder.
You're welcome.
And then Jerry asked, during the COVID, how does the admission process work? The admission process works exactly the way Maninder explained it on her slide. So the thing that's new with COVID is everything is submitted electronically. You're not dropping off any documents or mailing any documents. Everything is done electronically. But that's, I think, the only change to that. Okay. Is there a way, Ray is asking, to accelerate the diploma program?
Yeah, so if you have already done previous education that's similar to food technology, what we can technically do is if we deem that you've already completed level 1 or level 2, you could get direct entry into level 3. Otherwise, I'm not aware of any student who's been able to accelerate the program. It's quite intensive, the amount of courses you'd be taking. And so the students do find that the course load is heavy enough as it is that they haven't asked to speed up the process. So I would say in most cases, it will take you 2 years unless you've already taken education that's similar to food technology, and then we can grant you some credits for the courses that you've already taken.
Thanks, Erin. Ray is also asking, how is the classroom set up during the pandemic times? Now, you kind of mentioned that a bit earlier, but can you talk a bit more about how we set up the classrooms to manage?
So with so some of the labs that you might be having are, let's say, your food microbiology lab or the food processing lab, as well as food analysis lab. These are all different classrooms, but the way we've set it up is we've, let's say, we've cut the class in some cases even into thirds or quarters. And so the number of students in the classroom is reduced significantly. And so you'd be on your own workbench. And then we actually have some barriers in place with plexiglass in between students. So you're still getting the hands-on experience. In other cases, we've had to convert some of the labs to online. So it might be a demo, a video demo of how the equipment would work. And then you're provided the data that you would have obtained had you done the lab in person. And then you'd then continue with your analysis of the data that you've received. So we are definitely continuing the labs as they normally are, just at reduced capacity. So with less students in any given lab.
Thanks, Erin.
And then I see there's also a question about the income, and you'll find with any program at BCIT, the graduate surveys, BCIT will survey individuals after they've completed the program. The food industry does have a lot of people who are entering into entry-level jobs. And so the only information we have is on what entry-level salaries are. And for the food industry, unfortunately, it's a little low. It's $19 an hour, according to the last survey. What we don't have, and the information we don't know, is what students or what graduates are getting a few years down the line in the food industry. And the food industry has made a significant shift in the last few years to requiring experts who are developing food safety plans. And so that's what our program is going to be training you on, is how to develop the food safety plan. And we expect there'll be a high demand for our graduates in the coming years, as all these plants now have to have people developing their food safety plans for them.
Thanks, Erin. Now, JP is asking, if we need to do high school upgrading in order to apply, does that mean we won't be able to apply until 2023, since BCIT upgrading courses run January to April? Now, Maninder, I believe that they don't actually have to do those courses at BCIT. Is that correct?
That's correct. I'm going to put a link into the chat. This link is going to take you to a site called BC Learning Services. BC Learning Services is a database of all online high school upgrading courses in BC. You can take courses from, well, they're not actually from here. This is going to direct you to a school district. So you can take a course from a particular school district. Most of the courses on here, you can register at any time. So you can register fairly quickly. They're self-paced as well. And so you can complete them quite quickly. So it is possible, if seats are available once you have at least a midterm grade, so you can check back with us once you have a midterm grade in any of your upgrading courses, or a final grade if space is available in the program. So it's potentially possible for this September. And then if not this September, it would be the next intake, which would be September 2022.
Thank you, Maninder.
You're welcome.
Yes, there's lots of opportunities for upgrading around the province now, and a lot of ways to get your high school upgrades online. Some of them are even low cost or free even. So it's really great to look at that. Just seeing if there's any other. Looks like Maninder also posted some useful links too about international students. So if that applies to you, please do check out those links.
I'm going to answer this question here about food safe. So food safe is actually a certification required if you're going to be working in the restaurant industry. So we do not offer food safe certification at BCIT. If you're wanting to work in a restaurant and need that certification, you'd want to find providers who are offering that certificate. It's only a couple hours, that course, I believe, to complete. What we do offer, though, is there's now food production safe. So the food processing industry has now launched a similar version of the food safe certificate, and that is currently incorporated into our program. So you would, as part of one of our classes, get that. I think it's called food production safe. So very similar to food safe, but it's designed for the food industry. And so that is part of the training that we'd be providing you as part of the diploma.
Thanks, Erin. Okay, and I don't know exactly what this acronym stands for, so I hope one of you do. Is OPMT available to apply this program?
So operations management, I believe, is what that person's referring to. So in the diploma, we have one course on operations management. You don't need it to apply into the program. You would be taking a little bit of operations management in the diploma. And then if you were interested in continuing into operations management after you finish the diploma, it's a really excellent route to go. So understanding, the shipping and the managing your orders. So it's a little bit more on understanding the other aspect of the food industry if you continued into operations management after.
Neat. Okay. We don't have a lot more questions coming up right now, so I'm just going to click over to our next slide while I'm waiting for more questions. So if you have questions that we don't get to, don't answer, or you think of later, these are two email addresses you can keep in mind. One is the program_advising that Melinda mentioned earlier, and the other is ERIN FRIESEN's direct email. So if you have questions about the food industry, the program, things like that, that would be great for ERIN to answer. But if you have questions about admissions and application details, you should contact Program Advising with that, especially questions about your individual transcript or your past experience. Contact Program Advising about that, please.
Thank you very much for attending, guys. As mentioned from the other ERIN, if you guys do have specific questions about food technology, I'd be more than happy to answer them. So I know some of the questions here were about international, and so you'd want to get in touch with advising about those type of questions.
Yes. So again, yes, thank you for coming. I believe later tomorrow afternoon, we'll be sending everybody an email with a copy of the slide deck. And we've also been recording this session, so we hope to have a recording up and available for you guys sometime next week for you to view as well if you missed anything during the course of our presentation. But again, in the meantime, feel free to email, or please do check out our website to go over the information there. Thank you. Bye.